If anyone does not know me, I'm Alvin. I'm a local realtor. And then over here we have Maddie. She's a financial advisor who definitely knows her stuff. And so we're going to dive into pre-post tax strategies. So Maddie, how are you?
I'm great today. I'm excited to be here to talk about different ways for people to allocate their retirement funding, talking about what pre-tax looks like, what post-tax contributions look like, and some of the reasons why that's important.
Perfect. So that's exactly what we're going to be diving into today, which is the pre-post tax strategies. We'll be breaking down like why does it matter and how we can make the most out of them, right?
Right.
So, what is it? What are pre and post tax dollars?
So, pre-tax refers to income that's made before your taxes are deducted from a check, or if you're self-employed, before taxes are taken out of your 1099. Well, sorry, I mean money that you can use. Um, anyway, let me restart. Uh,
You're good.
so basically, pre-tax is like a 401k where money's taken out of your paycheck before income taxes are calculated, which reduces your taxable income for that current year. Versus post-tax contributions, the money's already flowed through the taxation system,
Mm,
and then you're using your net check, what's left over, to contribute to an account like a Roth IRA, using money that's already gone through the taxation process. And it's
okay.
so important to know the difference because it affects your tax liability for the current year, as well as what your future retirement income looks like. So pre-tax options reduce your taxable income now, while
Mhm.
post-tax options provide tax-free growth for the future.
Okay. So, like, pre tax is kind of like money you're saving for later, and post tax is for what you need now.
No.
No.
It looks like it's simple. It breaks down to what's your tax strategy. So your short-term tax strategy has to do with your tax bracket. So depending on where you fall, definitely Google that to say what is my gross income? How much do I make a year before taxes and everything? That decides what your taxation rate is. So if you're on the cusp of a new tax bracket, it's it's a great way to minimize that tax liability the current year
Mm,
by using pre-tax contributions. So your taxable income for 2025 is lower. So for example, let's say you make $100,000. This is not actually the tax bracket, but easy numbers. So you make 100,000. Let's say that is right on the cusp of 22 to 24%. You would want to uh, decrease your tax liability for the year by contributing to a 401k, an HSA, like a health savings account, something that is pre-tax that allows you to drop whatever that contribution amount. Let's say you put 20 grand in, suddenly your
mhm.
taxable income is only 80,000.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's a way. So actually, pre-tax contributions help you put off taxes, versus post-tax contributions are more forward thinking. So it's actually it's the flip. So post-tax contributions allow the money to grow in whatever vehicle you're using without having to pay taxes, and you've already paid baseline taxes.
Okay.
So when it grows, let's say you took that 20,000 and it's grown to 100,000, you now don't have to pay taxes on that 100,000 versus if it was in a pre-tax account, that's when you
Mm,
would be taxed as income when you pull it out.
okay. I like that. Okay. Thank you for breaking that down for me. Let's talk about pre-tax dollars. So why should people care about them?
So pre-tax, like I said, it's all about tax strategy. So 401k is a great way if you're W-2'd for your employer to match some of those contributions. So maxing that out is a great way to mitigate taxes and then get some growth that you're not paying for up front. And then down the line, you look at the tax implications. Um, Same with a lot of organizations now have health savings accounts or flexible spending accounts, which are used for medical expenses and is deducted before taxes. So another way to mitigate. Um, when you think about self-employed, pre-tax looks more like individual accounts because you don't have that employer sponsored 401k. So it really depends on what your view on diversification looks like.
Mm,
This is a personal opinion. Given that I'm in business for myself, that is a high risk investment. So I
yeah.
like to diversify into things that are a bit more stable, like whole life insurance as a cash reserve, or using post-tax dollars in a Roth IRA to max that out before I'm taking steps and looking at, IRAs and other pre-tax strategies, just to make the most of the money that I have today. And again, the caveat is, where is your gross income falling on the tax bracket scale?
Okay, gotcha. So you just got to really analyze where you're at with finances, to kind of see what type of strategy you want to go about.
Which
Um,
is where I come in.
there you go.
You don't have to do it alone. That's why you hire a financial planner.
I love that. Okay, and so for pre-tax, like, would you say, like, what are contributions look like? Like, are there limits? Um, what are your thoughts with that? Or they vary?
With It varies based off the account.
Mm.
Post tax has different contribution limits as well. So it really just depends on what the new laws are. It changes from year to year. Like they just upped what the Roth IRA contribution limit is based off age. So
Okay.
you have a lot of flexibility there.
So once you kind of pinpoint where you want to go, then you can dive into the type of account you want to kind of invest into or like get, right?
Yeah. And
Is what
I
I'm
would
getting.
say the biggest things to keep in mind um, are understanding contribution limits, understanding do you have an employer match and what that looks like, adjusting your contributions ongoing based off what your current income looks like, what your future income looks like, and then reevaluating and assessing. So that's why having a relationship with a financial planner is so valuable, because that annual review meeting, you have the opportunity to say, okay, this is where my gross income now falls. How do I mitigate taxes this year while also being forward focused for the future?
Okay. No, I love that. It
Mm-hmm.
definitely sets you up, like, and I love that you say you do that yearly review with clients as well, because that definitely, you help them set up pretty much their financial health moving forward. So
Well, and
perfect.
understanding what changes. I mean, for business owners, we know revenue shifts depending on the year. So
Yeah.
having someone who is staying agile with your finances gives you the opportunity to make changes in real time instead of playing catch up. I mean, without it is so much to manage a business or your career and your family, and to add on the addition of that of making educated and comprehensive financial decisions, it's a lot for one person to take on. So having your team behind you is so important.
Perfect. Perfectly said. All right. So Maddie, let's switch up gears a little bit. How about post-tax dollars? Like what's the strategy there?
Strategy around post tax is tax deferred growth. So, understanding that in the future, we don't know what tax rates are going to look like. We don't know exactly when we're going to have to start making withdrawals. So, having a diversified portfolio between those pre tax investments and post tax gives you the opportunity to um, be flexible and be more agile. So it really is a balance between understanding what do I need to save on taxes this year, and what makes the most sense in terms of future retirement income. And I have an amazing team of analysts behind me that help me build plans that project what income actually looks like based off the kind of accounts we use.
Nice. I love that.
Mhm.
What would you say the catch would be? You said there's flexibility there. Would you say there's a catch to?
Like, I would say the catch is that when you say catch, like around post tax investing,
Yes.
it's that you will have in the current year paid taxes on the money. So If you are in a position where you're trying to push taxes back into retirement, that's where pre-tax comes in. But it's so important to have the balance of both because we don't know what future tax rates will look like. It gives you
Mm-hmm.
more flexibility and you can balance what is your taxable income now, which if you're in a high tax bracket is really important to mitigate. Um, and then balancing with post tax lets you get ready for different tax scenarios in the future. So it's all about hedging against what does today look like versus what does 10 to 20 years look like.
Love that. Okay, those
Mhm.
are really some great insights, Maddie. Do you have any like quick tips for like balancing pre-post tax strategies?
Yeah, I would say that if you're a W-2 employee, it's
Mm-hmm.
really advantageous to understand what your company's max match will be. And if that is something that you can take advantage of fully, that's a great baseline. When you're working for yourself, I think it becomes a conversation of how aggressively am I retirement investing, given that I do not have an employer that's matching.
Mm,
So, whereas a W 2 employee can say, I'm dedicating 3%, my employer's matching 3%, a self employed person would have to be putting 6% of their income into that one account for it to for it to be growing at the same rate. So, other opportunities there come through reinvesting in the business, looking at whole life insurance as a tax deferred asset. Even whole life insurance is a product that is paid for with post tax dollars. So the growth in that cash reserve is also tax free when you take a distribution. So there's a lot of different ways to walk the path of it. I can't say there's one right answer. I think the best thing you can do is sit down with a financial professional and just do a full analysis of what does your P&L look like, your profit and loss statement personally, to understand, what does my gross income look like? What am I paying in taxes right now? And is it more important that I have more dollars in my pocket today to
mm.
handle expenses and overhead and typical cash flow, or does it make sense for me to use that net check to look long term?
I love that. Thank you so much for breaking that down. And I know, like, for anyone that's watching or that's going to be watching this later on, like, I know there might be some terms that they're not familiar with, like whole life and stuff like that, right? So this is where Maddie comes in as well. She can definitely break that down for you.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm always around to answer questions. I think that financial literacy is so important and it's a whole nother language. You know,
It
you
is.
learn English, you learn Spanish, you learn real estate, you learn finances, you
Yes.
learn family, you learn, you speak a different language when
Mm-hmm.
you get into a nuanced field like this.
I 100% agree. Like everywhere you go, like whether like you said, different areas is different languages. Like my sister, she's a dentist. Like when she talks, I feel like she's talking a different language,
Yeah,
So I'm like totally understand and it takes time. It takes time. It takes more, meetings and stuff like that to really fully understand where you stand and how you want to, you know, um move forward. And in order for you to move forward in the best way possible, it's good to be educated. So, thank you,
absolutely.
Maddie.
And if there's like one word to summarize, it's diversification. It's
Yes,
there's no way for you to create a balanced portfolio if all you do is pre-tax or all you do is post-tax. You want to have
agree.
a nice you want to have a little secret sauce of both
Just in
that's going
case.
to
Yep.
protect you today and in the future.
I love that,
Mhm.
because life goes like this. So, just like what you're saying, having that balance and knowing where you stand and where you want to move forward is very important. So, thank you. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people, on my page, your page, we network, right, with a lot of people that are self employed. What is the best way to start saving pre tax dollars, like if you're self employed?
If you're self-employed, that's going to look like a traditional IRA. For a full list of pre-tax investment accounts, I think we should have a conversation. In general, You're going to be working with a brokerage to set that up, given that your employer works with a larger brokerage to set that up. So it's typically a managed account. So pre-tax, odds are you're working with someone. Post-tax, there's a bit more flexibility. You can self-manage Roth IRAs, or you can work with a partner for that. I think it really comes down to how confident do you feel in choosing your holdings versus giving that responsibility to the people who do it every day. And it looks different for everyone. I know myself personally, at 19, I opened my first Roth IRA, and I am so grateful that I did,
That's
because
awesome.
yeah, I had someone who steered me in the right direction with what kind of holdings to balance. And I have seen some great returns out of it. And with that, I've been able to use it with some flexibility. Like, fun fact, real estate and Roth IRAs overlap, because you can pull from a Roth IRA up to $10,000 for your down payment on your first house.
Ooh, you guys
And
hear
I don't
that?
think a
You
lot of
guys
people.
hear that? Yeah. Play that again. Play that again.
Alvin, that might be a new one for you, but it's a great way for people to save up a down payment, because you're able to use that growth towards a down payment without having to worry about paying taxes. You just have to
I
make sure
love
you work
that.
with your CPA to make sure that those funds are traceable.
There you go. See?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So, a little bit about you, Maddie, because I know I had you last time, and just to kind of get to know what inspired you in this field. Like, so, what inspired you to kind of specialize in financial strategies?
That's a great question. I appreciate that. It's pretty close to my heart. I growing up, my relationship with money was a little volatile. My parents always made sure we had everything we needed, and
Mm,
it was it was great. I think our parents always do the best they can with
yes.
what they have. But if
Mm-hmm.
your parents aren't taught how to build wealth, they don't have that information to pass to you.
Agree.
And I got very lucky in my adult life to um, constantly have financial mentorship, whether it looked like the Roth IRA, learning how to buy property early. Like, I bought my first rental at 25,
That's
and knowing how to do those things has created so much optionality for my future. And I want to be able to share the power of having options with other people. It makes you feel safer. It makes you have more freedom. You're more flexible.
mm-hmm.
It's more peaceful when you know that I'm building something that's going to protect me in the future, and possibly speed up the timeline of how long you have to work. I mean,
Agree.
yeah. And
Because,
mhm.
oh, go ahead.
And then I saw it for in my family, what it looks like when you don't have those foundational planning pieces in place. Like, my mom always had a 401k. Same with
Mm-hmm.
my dad. They were very heavy in the pre-tax investment space.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, my mom had an injury and has spent the last 9 years dealing with that, and
Mm-hmm.
now is on a fixed income, Social Security disability. And to
Yeah.
qualify for that, you have to drain your other assets.
Oh my.
So, without having a clear understanding of what assets can stay in place versus what has to be liquidated, um, we found ourselves in a position where now retirement looks a lot farther off for them. And
Yeah.
if I can help mitigate that for other people, that's really powerful to me, because I've always been a little bit of a mama bear. And if I can speak real truth to people, and talk about what could happen. I don't want to be the rain cloud saying, oh, something horrible could happen tomorrow. But if something did happen, what position are we in today? His life is chess, it's not checkers. And I
It
know
is. It's all about
these days,
choices, too. Yeah.
it feels like checkers these days. It's
Yeah.
hard to stay up with inflation. It's hard
Yeah.
to take a percentage of your earnings every month and save it. I mean, most people, I don't remember the percentage now, but I know it's over 50% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And to get ahead of that cycle, it's really getting clear about what your priorities are. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to just help people make sense of their savings goals, because savings is step one. Then you start looking at foundational planning, and then you start looking at investing. You want to make sure that you've created a pipeline for yourself so you have some liquidity and cash. And then you're looking at, how do I protect what I've built so far? And then how do I grow in the future?
I love that. So
Mhm.
I know you mentioned step. What is the most simple step right now someone can take to improve their financial health?
3 to 6 months emergency savings. If you can, I'm not too concerned about you having zero debt, but if something was to happen that put you out of work, are you able to cover your expenses without funding your life on credit cards for the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah.
That is the number one foundation I see that determines if something happens, do you backslide or do you have a foundation of, this is where I'm at today? So start with saving, and then have that conversation around, how do I, and it all depends on how old you are. Some people have to
Mm-hmm.
play catch up once you hit like 50, 55, 60,
Yeah.
versus you can be a lot more intentional with it 30, 40, even 20s for those who are really after it.
Uh, to me, just like it's never too late to start. Just start.
No,
Start
no, it is critical.
today.
I mean, I've had some of my most amazing moments with clients who are in their 50s and, enjoyed the first half of life and spent
Mm-hmm.
their money, took vacations, and enjoyed that piece. But now we're looking at, what does late life care look like? What does long term care look like for you? What does having investments for ongoing income look like? Because of course we hope that Social Security will be there when we all retire. So we've got Social Security as a baseline, but we want to make sure that we're adding additional funnels that continue to pour into that consistent income stream, as well as
Mm-hmm.
protect against years where the market's down. So it really is taking little puzzle pieces from everywhere, to diversify. But step one is saving.
Perfect. Thank you. Couldn't have said it better. So, Maddie, I definitely want to thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge today. It's been so insightful. I'm glad like we were able to talk about pre and post tax. What does it mean? Why does it matter? And why people should start today. Best time was yesterday, but next best time is today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's being vulnerable and being brave to say, I don't know what I don't know. And it's okay. We are all new at some point. We're all new to a concept. We're all new to making big decisions around our finances. So biting the bullet and taking the step, you're going to be surprised with how comfortable it becomes when you have the right person on your team.
Totally agree. And, again, Maddie, you're so easy to talk to. You break it down so nicely. So thank you again for coming on live. I can't wait for the next topic. Thank you
Woo-hoo.
for sharing your knowledge. So for anyone that finds this really valuable, helpful, go ahead and share, tag your friend who wants to kind of see this, want to know more. And Maddie, you can follow her here on Facebook. You have an Instagram, right? And also
I do.
LinkedIn.
I do. I
So
do.
follow
And
her.
And I would say, if you have topics that you're ever curious about around literacy, like message me, message Alphen, and we'd be happy to cover it.
Let's do it. All right.
Awesome.
Well, thank you guys. And I know, some people may be watching this later. So, yeah, hope everyone has a wonderful day.